Hi, I am going to analyze the article Australia, 14,000 children stolen today. And in this article, Jerry Georgatos makes the case that certain elements of governmental practices regarding the removal of children should be investigated. He makes the claim that the indigenous people of Australia is suffering from systemic racism through unfair removal of their children. I will in this presentation analyze the modes of persuasion that Georgatos uses to make his case, and after that I will talk about the reliability of the article and comment on the situation as a whole. So to analyze Georgatos' modes of persuasion, I have picked out some quotes, and there's a lot, and the whole article is how do you say, is filled with pathos, and it's very it's not very, how do you say, scientific at all. Actually, the only place I found of real statistic is from one of the first paragraphs that says 1 in 9 Aboriginal children is ripped from their families into out-of-home care. So, and one thing to notice that is that even in this sentence, which is a statistic, it is still formulated in a way that the children is ripped from their families. That's also very, very pathos at the same time. And the rest of the article is basically just how do you say? It's very pathos written. It's so to give you an example, parents are told that unless they agree to orders, they will be denied any access to their children. And to give you another one, Aboriginal are removed from their families for much less than what are non-Aboriginal children. So you could say that perhaps it's true, and that would be, obviously that would be very awful, but the article doesn't provide any real facts. It's just it's more of a it's written in a way that you can't argue with that. You can't you can't argue with it. It's very harsh. And he goes on, and it gets even more it gets even more, how do you say, serious and emotional. Child protection, this is a quote again. Child protection is racist because it is all assimilation and doing as they say. You speak up as a worker and you're out of line. So it almost sounds, I don't like to do this comparison, but it almost sounds like something you would hear talking about World War II and the way the Nazis treated the Jews. It's very, very harsh, and it's very, very pathos written. It is written in a way that makes you feel discomfort, and if you were to take all that the article says literally, then Australia as a country starts to seem completely tyrannical and very, very awful. But he does not provide any real facts or any real statistics, and I think that is problematic. But again, if these things are true, it makes sense to describe them in this way, because if it is true, then it is really, really awful, and it should be looked into. Another quote I've written down is, "We have no choice but to tell our people to bow down." And this is said in the context of when the children are removed, the parents, the Aboriginal parents obviously get very upset, but when they do, they get how do you say? They write down, the children's removal department writes down that the parents were aggressive, and then then they are denied. If that happens, the parents are denied seeing their children again. So what he says here, "We have no choice but to tell our people to bow down," is that the indigenous people have to accept it. That's what he's saying. But the thing that I noticed is that he himself uses the term "our people." So he calls the children, what's it called? The NSW, I think, Department of Children. I can't remember the name. He calls them racist, but then he himself refer to Aboriginal people as "our people." So he himself makes that kind of separation, if you will. So one last quote is that he says at the end. He says, "The racism that is Australian born and bred cannot be allowed to continue." So again, he brings up racism, and racism in itself is very is a very emotional and very very, yeah, how do you say, it induces a sense of discomfort, and I think that is a good segue to the reliability of this article. Another thing I noticed is that he only includes statements made by people of the same belief as himself, and that could be, I would call that a kind of confirmation bias, because he doesn't he doesn't provide another point of view. He only includes statements of people saying the same thing as he does, which in a way, kind of, it underlines the argument, yes, but it makes it, to me, it makes it very unreliable, because if it were to be reliable, you have to look at this from both sides, and maybe there is a reason why these children are being removed. Maybe there isn't. But just by reading this article, you're not smarter at the end. You don't know any. You don't know the whole story. That's what I'm trying to say. And just last quote, he says, "But as a researcher myself, I have long argued that the neglect has to be articulated. What do they mean by neglect?" And this quote is taken out of the context that he says that the children are being removed because of neglect, and he believes that this should be more articulated. Like, what do they mean when they say neglect? And I think that he himself has not done a very good job of making strong and reliable and taking both sides of this problem in consideration. So yes, I think that was all I had. So thank you.